All right, here we go. Unit 4, test review. I think this is page 4. I've been skipping around here. All right, let's do it here. So write a standard form trig function from the following characteristics. From the following characteristics, right? So first things first, we know it's a cosecant function. It's got a vertical shift of 8, a phase shift of pi/2, and it's going to the right. Right, that's important. Going to the right. Remember, right's positive, left is negative, that sort of thing. Amplitude is 7, and the period length is 4 pi. All right, so first things first. Oh, I'm just going to say this. Y equals A times the cosecant. So CSC, struggling here. CSC, and then we have BX plus C, and then plus D. All right. What we need to do is we need to figure out A, B, C, and D. All right. Now A and D are always the easiest one. It's the amplitude. That is your A value. All right. So don't overthink that one. We can just plug that one in straight up. The vertical shift is your D value. All right. So we basically get those for free. The ones that we kind of have to focus on are B and C here. And you should always try to find the B value first. All right. So we know the period has to do with the B value. So we know that every single secant, cosecant, sine, cosine function, we know the period. The period is just 2 pi, all right? It's 2 pi over B, all right? What we need to do is we need to find that B value, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just erase period here because we know that. They're telling us, hey, the period is 4 pi, all right? All we have to do is just solve this for B. And if you want to, put it over 1 and you have a proportion. Just go ahead and cross multiply, and let's see what we get. All right, so we're going to have 4 pi times B just equals 2 pi. All right, so we'll just cross multiply. All right, now solving for B, go ahead and divide the 4 pi away. All right, and then you're going to notice, 4 pi's are gone on the left, and then the pi's cancel out. All right, so no more pi's left. So we know B equals 2/4, but we can do better than that, right? We know 2/4 simplifies down to 1/2, right? So far, here's where we're at. The amplitude is 7, the vertical shift is 8, and it's up 8, so it's going to be a plus 8. Let me fix that, plus 8. We just figured out B. B is 1/2. Right? Now, the last thing we need to do is we need to figure out the C value. And our C value, our phase shift, I'm going to abbreviate that. I'm going to put PS for phase shift. PS is equal to negative C over B. Right? We just found B. Right? So we have a phase shift of pi/2, I'm sorry, 2 pi over 5, but it's going to the right. All right, so what that means is our phase shift here, we're going to put positive 2 pi over 5. Remember, to the right means positive. But when you look at the equation, if you see a minus sign, that means move it to the right. So it's kind of the opposite. So I'll explain that here in a second. All right. We know the B value. I'm going to erase B, and I'm going to actually put a 1/2 here. All right. And again, the process is the same. So let's just go ahead and cross multiply, and let's see what we get. All right. So looking at that, we have negative 5C equals 1/2 times 2 pi. So if we just clean that up a little bit, you have negative 5C equals pi, and then divide away the negative 5 on both sides. C equals negative pi over 5. All right. So there we go. Negative pi over 5. Right, and that's really all we have. So here's what I'm doing. I'm just going to copy and paste all of this stuff down here. And let's just write this equation, as is the way it should look. So we're going to have y equals 7 times the cosecant, right? So CSC, they tell us right in the beginning that it was a cosecant function. And then we know our b value is 1/2. X, the c value is negative pi over 5. And then the d value is 8, positive 8, right? And that is our final answer here. So just looking at the equation, all right, I mentioned this earlier. This minus sign here is kind of a liar, all right? So generally we associate negative signs with the left, but when it's on the inside of those parentheses, it's a liar. So since it's a minus sign, we know this thing gets shifted to the right. If that was a positive sign, it would get shifted to the left, right? So that's just something to kind of keep in mind here. That's why our formula gave us that negative c over b value, right? Because we have to account for that, the kind of lying in the equation that's going on. All right, but that is our final answer here. All right, the next one, right? The standard trig function. So first things first, I'm going to just jump to this midline here. All right, we know that's at -1, so we automatically know the vertical shift equals -1. It's going down one space. The amplitude is this value right here from the maximum to that midline. That looks like we have an amplitude of 1. So I'm just going to say amp equals, I said 1. I'm sorry, that's not right. The amplitude is 2 on this one. It goes from -1 to a positive 1. This has a height of 2. All right. Let's see here. We need to figure out the period first. Right. So the period, it kind of, if we want to look at this thing, it starts and stops right here. So what you can do is just kind of trace up. Let's see where it starts, where it ends. So our period, or the period, it ends at, that's a pi over 2, right? And it begins at negative pi over 6. Right? So if we want to figure out the length of the period, do, the ending point minus the beginning point. Let's see here. That gives us, if we get a common denominator, that we have 3 pi over 6 minus a negative turns into a plus, so it's plus pi over 6, which gives us 4 pi over 6, which of course is 2 pi over 3. Right? So that is the length of the period. Right? We know to figure out kind of the b value here, we know period. I'm just going to put a p. P is equal to 2 pi over that b value. Well, we just figured out what the period was. All right, so I'm just going to erase that. And we're just going to go ahead and plug that in. All right, so we have 2 pi over 3. All right, so again, another proportion. Go ahead, cross multiply it, see what comes up. All right, so we have 2 pi times b equals 6 pi. Right? Divide away the 2 pi on both sides. We're going to have b equals just a 3. A 3 is what's left over here. Right? So we automatically know, well, we don't automatically know, but now we know d is -1, we know a is 2, and we just found b, which I already forgot. I think I said 3. Yeah, b is 3. The last thing we need to do is find c, is to find that phase shift here. All right, and the phase shift. Now, I need to get rid of all of this. All right, so normally, if we were to look at this graph without a phase shift, right, it would do something like that, right? That's kind of where it would start. So what we need to do is we need to think about how far back did this thing get pushed, right? And to figure out how far back it got pushed, all you have to do is just look at this ordered pair and just say, okay, well, it got pushed negative pi over 6, all right? So we know it went left pi over 6 units, all right? Or instead of saying left, I'm going to put a minus sign here, all right? So we know the phase shift equals negative c over our b value. All right, so we have negative pi over 6 equals negative c over b. And again, b is 3. Cross multiplying this, let's see here. We're going to have negative 3 pi equals negative 6 c. I'm going to divide negative 6 on both sides, so we end up with positive pi over 2 equals our c value. All right. And then the last thing we should really identify, I should have done this first. This is a sine function. All right. It hits that midline 3 points, the beginning, the middle, and the end hit that midline, so we know that it's going to be a sine function here. All right. So just to kind of recap, or I guess just rewrite them all in one spot. We said, I already forgot them. I gotta go look. The a value is 2. The b value, that was our period, was 3. Our c value is pi over 2. And the d value is negative 1. And again, it is a sine function. All right, so what this means is putting all of this together, we can say y equals, I also forgot one thing. The sine function, it's negative. So remember, sine starts by going up in the beginning. This one goes down, all right? So this one is going to be a negative sine value, right? So y equals negative 2 times the sine of 3x plus pi over 2, right, minus 1. And again, just to kind of emphasize this, we talked about this in the last problem. That's a plus sign, and it's on the inside of the parentheses. That plus sign is kind of a liar. So it ends up going to the left, which we can see right here. It definitely goes to the left. So anytime you have that sign on the inside of the parentheses there, just know it kind of is the opposite of what it should, right? And then the next one, write a sine and a cosine function from the given graph here, okay? I am going to do this in another video because I have to leave here soon, all right? So stay tuned. We'll catch you in that last video here.